Well, frankly, I think this whole issue and debate has been a gift to women like myself who've been talking about the autonomy of women for the last few years. A number of things it's brought up. Number one, a GRC really doesn't mean that a man is no longer a threat or a risk to women. So it poses the question, what on earth is a GRC for, besides giving men access to women's spaces? So I think it's very neatly highlighted for everyone.
Can you just clarify to our viewers, what's GRC?
Yeah.
Okay, so a GRC is a gender recognition certificate. It's a bizarrely named thing because actually in law in this country, we don't really define what gender is. And everything where your biological sex, your legal sex is recorded is based upon the word sex. And so now to have these sort of laws trying to change what gender you are, when actually legally you're not a gender in the first place, is peculiar. And I think it's quite opaque on purpose. So if we say that on the basis of having a gender recognition certificate, where you have to go in front of a panel and say that you really do mean that you're a woman, doesn't mean that you are safe to be around women, because we have so many men that claim to be women that have a GRC.
Yeah, one thing that I'm amazed at, right, is how quick the legal community can be at times. I actually, when lockdown happened, did decide to train to be a lawyer, and then immediately decided I didn't want to write people's wills for a living. But I did realise then how the legal community can all hop on a bandwagon very, very quickly. Talk about people's human rights. We love human rights. I'm amazed at some of the victims of people, potentially if they're in prison, for example, especially, who've been sexually assaulted by biological men who've transitioned into womanhood, classed as women now, and put in that prison. I'm amazed that they can't take this government to court over that. Can they?
Well, you'd hope. Well, I'm assuming they can. I think there's loads of things cropping up at the moment where I'm surprised that there isn't a groundswell of people suing the government. There was a woman recently, just to highlight how little women mean to this government and to certainly women in prison. A woman gave birth on her own and lost her baby in a prison. And at the same time, we're debating the vulnerability of sexually violent men to be in women's prisons. Now, I just don't understand why that's a woman's issue. If these men are vulnerable, and maybe they are in a prison system, but I'm past caring, really, whether a convicted rapist is vulnerable. But even if we say that they have equal human rights to be protected in prison, why can't they just be housed in a men's prison? What on earth is the Equality Act 2010 for if we can't have a single sex exemption, which means women can go to a women's prison and not actually have to be housed with men, not have to shower with convicted rapists? What is the point of the 2010 Equality Act single sex exemptions?